businesses or people who want to start their own business, and also employees who work at an organization but have to be more entrepreneurial, so to speak, or intrapreneurial, as it's called, as well as students, of course, those who need or following entrepreneurship education. And our tools are also used in research. Sometimes we join that research. Sometimes there are other researchers that actually use the tool in order to find out what about the entrepreneurial mindset and the skill set, as Trent talked about. So I'm just going to show you just a screenshot of the tool, so you have a little bit of an understanding, and we will look into the researches and see what's the differences with female entrepreneurship and male entrepreneurship. Let me check. Okay. So this is a screenshot of the software that we delivered all over the world to people, actually helping people to get insights into their entrepreneurial mindset, but also helping to develop the entrepreneurial mindset, because it's not so much if you are the entrepreneur, it's much more how entrepreneur are you, especially for the business that you're in. And we have indeed over 1 million people in our data set around the globe. And what we also can also tell is a little bit more about, okay, the self-knowledge that people have. But we will see more about the skill sets and the differences between male and female, because there are differences, but probably not where you expect. But let us answer the question first, like, okay, what about female entrepreneurship? And you said 75% is female. I've been looking into the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. It's a PDF that you can download on the internet. It's all about women's entrepreneurship. And what is actually, it depends on different countries and different type of activity, of course, because you can imagine that those who really have a business, like the established businesses, there is a difference between those who have the intention to start a business. So here, I just put down the 4 stages, actually. So people that have the intention to start, where you can see that actually globally, that the ratio is about 8.8 to 1 male person. Nascent activity is more like really getting into starting your own business, not really started, but almost started. And you can see that there's a decline up to, in the end, established businesses. So early stage activity, 0.69. That's actually where you are busy setting up a business or already have a business up to 3.5 years. And established businesses is those who have a business longer than 3.5 years. And you see that that ratio is actually lower than the 75%. So that's like 62%. And the main conclusions from the report, and I really advise you to look into the report yourselves, because as an explanation or just as a comparison, in Morocco, the women to men ratio is 1.1. So there are more female entrepreneurs than male entrepreneurs, which is very interesting. So maybe Dr. Huda can tell a little bit more about that later on. And another comparison, which actually surprised me, Norway, what I would expect is in a European country, would like maybe not be that, well, maybe more women than male, but it appears to be 0.4. So only 40% women to men ratio. So that's actually lower. If you look at the most important, let me check if I can do this. Yes. We can see that women are globally, I can hear someone else, or is it me? I'm sorry. Okay, I think maybe it's me. I thought I heard someone else going through the presentation. So, okay. Women entrepreneurs are underrepresented in the traditionally male-dominated sectors. And possibly because there's a negative image about that. And women represent 1 in 3 high growth and innovation entrepreneurs. So that's really something different there. And what we see is, and I'm one of the experts as also being asked for the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. I can hear myself. I'm not sure if that's you, maybe, Trent. Is that a possibility to? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So, and the general idea is that actually the environment for women entrepreneurs is very low in most of the countries. So that's something I would like to look into, especially if you look at what academic research suggests, is that if you compare women to men starting in the same business, in the same industry, there probably is no difference. And we have done some research in that field. So I would like to talk about that. But let's go into more detail into that. So I think the question could be, and probably if you look at what the report says, is like, okay, women are less represented in most sectors than male. The question is, are men better entrepreneurs? So let's have a look. One thing that we do in our software, before people take the e-scan, we always ask them just on the top of their head, so just answer quickly without thinking, how entrepreneurial are you? And that's the estimated entrepreneurial index. And at the end, everyone who completed the scan will get their real entrepreneurial index based on the skill set that we have in the e-scan. So here you can see, and this is the general all over. So you can see that in general, people, men and women, all over the world, what the estimate is 67.2. That's how entrepreneurial they think they are. But the real entrepreneurial index is 49.7. So people do tend to overestimate, which is probably also very entrepreneurial, because if you don't feel the way that or believe that you are the entrepreneur, you probably won't take that step. But then again, sometimes people forget that there are also weak points. So that's why they overestimate the strong points, but don't talk or forget about the weak points. If we look at research that we have done together with a governmental incubation program with about 500 to 600 participants, and 69% was women, that's where we see their entrepreneurial index. So also they were asked about, okay, how entrepreneurial do you think you are? And you can see the male and female. So in this case, up before beginning with the whole incubation program, male entrepreneurs thought they were 70.9 entrepreneurial index, opposed to 65.4. And if you look at the real entrepreneurial index on the left, you can see actually that both male and women overestimate themselves, and that women score a little bit lower, opposed to what they feel as what there really is. But then again, the difference for men is larger than that is for women. So the incubation program was specifically designed to help them with coaching, not only on their business side and how to set up the business or how to make the business successful, but also on their skill set. So online and offline entrepreneurial coaching for both men and women. And if we look at the results, there we see the pre-scan. As you saw before, there are differences between the real index and the estimated, as well as between male and female. You can see that actually the differences are way less. So very small differences, not significant at all. So you could say it's more or less the same. It is a little bit more still estimated, but then again, this difference is actually quite small, and still male entrepreneurs do tend to overestimate a little bit more than the female. So actually, this is a good sign that both male, but actually the female made a bigger progress, becoming more entrepreneurial after the incubation program. if we look at the underlying skill sets of this entrepreneur index in a different incubation program, so it's not the same as we just showed you. What you can see is the blue line is the first, so that's also the pre scan, doing the scan before the incubation program started. And this was done with the Chambers of Commerce. The second line is the post scan. So after a year program, also with online and offline coaching, not only on the business side, but also on the personal side, that's the personal development, where we can see actually that from self-belief on to creativity, social orientation, market awareness. So again, going much more to the skills like marketing, those have a higher score, and those are significant. So that means that the differences that are significant and therefore are a consequence of the program. Whereas need for power, autonomy, endurance are more like traits, more difficult to develop. They score a little bit higher, but then again, that's not significant. So it did not change in a big way. Besides that, you can see there is a growth for both male and female entrepreneurs. What we also have done is look back 5 years back to how well do these entrepreneurs perform. And if you look at the survival rates, and the UE average is about 50%, that's the same as in the United States, and probably within Africa, it's even lower. Then we checked for these companies, not so much if they have been successful or grown in a very large way. We only wanted to know, are you still in business, yes or no? Are you still active and running your business? And what we find for this group of entrepreneurs is that only 11% were not more in business. So 89% were, opposed to the 49% that were in business after 5 years with or after this program, after 5 years. So the first year was the program, and then 5 years later, we look back, it is 89% that is still in business due to this mindset program, so to speak. So there is a real development in entrepreneurial mindset as well as in their business. So to the next slide, which gives a little bit more insight into the difference between male and females, because Trent said there is no difference. Well, no, there is no difference in some way, but in some ways there is. So let's have a better look at that. If you look at something that actually people would expect is, for example, that the risk-taking, as you can see here at the bottom, and you can see the male and the female score, there is no difference. They score more or less the same. Yet again, people actually think that male would be more risk-taking or would have a higher risk-taking attitude. But that's not what we see, at least in this comparison between female and male Dutch SMEs with staff. And what we do see is that females tend to invest more of their own savings more than men do. So it doesn't mean that they are less or more risk-taking. It's the same, but probably do business differently. And the same goes for self-belief, which you can see here at the right of the image. It is also probably known or believed that men have more self-belief than women, but that's not what we find. What we also see is that probably women are more self-critical than men, but that doesn't mean that they're or are less or more or have less or more self-belief. Another one, which is creativity, and if you ask women, the likelihood is that women do tend to list themselves as more creative than men. but that's not what we find. We see the same actually here for male and female. So those are probably the differences that you would expect. That's not what we find. On the other hand, there are some differences like the achievement. You can see that men score higher, and of course the differences are not that big, but as a researcher you can see that the differences are significant. So that's why we can say that there's a difference between achievement as well as also for power. So men do have more ambition, or at least that's what they tend to show. Then again, women probably do business differently, as well as in power. And in that case, there's also a negative consequence for male entrepreneurs because they think that they have to do it themselves, that they are the entrepreneur and that they actually show that to others. Whereas women are likely more open to get help from anybody else. And another one, which is the thinking style, so the type of entrepreneur. You can imagine that a pioneer is a different type of entrepreneur than probably the manager or those who organize things and have a more like an organization than probably an innovation company. It's not very well to see, but you can see that the male for the pioneer is bigger than the female, and it appears to be significant. That's not the case for salesperson, which is more like a type of thinking, not so much a function, a type of thinking, and probably female. So it's really connecting with people, making sure that you get along well. Something that you need, of course, in sales. It is a little bit bigger, but it appears not to be significant, although it's very close. But then again, we did not find a very significant, so that's why we not can tell. So actually, the conclusion here is that do male and female entrepreneurs differ? No, they're not more entrepreneurial, but probably they do business differently. So I think that in that case, where we saw in the beginning with the GEM report that somehow there's still the idea that women are less entrepreneurial or that less women have a business, it doesn't mean that they're less entrepreneurial. As they also suggested when they start in the same business as well, what we have, of course, checked here with the comparison is that they really don't differ that much in entrepreneurial mindset. So to conclude, what can you take out of it? Some concrete tips, I think. I think it's very important to take a good and honest look at yourself. That for men, maybe even more for men than for female, because they tend to be more open for critic. But then again, it's best probably not to compare yourself to men. So maybe that's a tip. Another tip is to discuss your personal entrepreneurship with someone else, preferably with a coach, because they're independent and they really know how to ask questions. But if you don't have the money, please find someone else, but preferably someone who is not so close to you, because there should be some distance between someone you know very well as someone who is capable of really asking good questions and help you rethink things. And the last tip, I think also, if you look at the results that we have, focus on your strengths, but don't ignore your weaknesses, because that's what most people tend to do is like, okay, these are my strengths, and that's why I'm very entrepreneurial. That's why they overestimate themselves, actually more or less ignoring that there are also weak points. And that is for male as for female. So that's more about it for today. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Definitely a lot of data to crunch, and yeah, it's always nice to kind of get past assumptions and look what the data is actually telling us. Again, with that understanding that some of this is self-reported data, but I love the fact that you were able to actually separate that out as well. So does anybody from the audience have a question about any of these findings? This is being streamed to our YouTube channel. So after this event, you should be able to review this on YouTube. But Dr. Martin can also put his contact details in the chat if anybody wants to reach out to him directly to discuss this further. I think probably he prefers professional connections if you're actually working in this field. If you're just personally curious, then he is a very busy man. I'll just put that part out there.
I will type it again because I made a mistake. So any questions or remarks or something else, or maybe some confirmation? More than happy to talk about. So that's the right one.
Excellent.
Question. I didn't
Sure.
think you saw my hand up. This is Nancy. I'm in the US. I wanted to find out, and thank you, doctor, for doing this presentation. Wanted to find out, was this done mostly with the Dutch people, or was it global? The information you gathered from the people. I thought I saw something that said it was done by a group of people.
Yes, the research or the
Research.
outcomes are those
Mhm.
Those were Dutch, yes.
They were Dutch.
Those were the Dutch, yeah, because that's the incubation programs that actually we have data from that we can use and show you. Yes.
Okay, and
Correct.
then the percentages that you had increased because of like I think we was 47%
Mhm.
to 49, it increased to 51% when they actually took the mindset program that you offered.
So what is your question?
Oh, you have like a 2 or 3% move from them, seems like taking the mindset program that you offered. Is that correct?
I think you mean that the UE average, like 51%,
Right.
is still in business after 5 years?
Yes.
Yes, opposed to after 5 years that we see that is 89% is still in business.
Okay.
So those are the survival rates.
Oh, people in business. after 5
Yes.
years.
So actually what we've done is to, and that's not what we have done, but our tool has been used in that case. So is that the incubation program, which lasted a year more or so, some got a coach and some have like 9 months, some like 12 months. So that was a coaching program, online and offline.
Oh, okay.
And at the end of that program, we waited more or less 4 years later, so 5 years in total. And then they look back, who of those who participated in this program is still in business? Knowing, and as a control group, it is about 50%, although the control group was a little bit higher, like 60% still in business. But it's actually saying that, okay, those the normal survival rates are about 50% after 5 years, but in this case, it was almost 90%. But then again, people applied for this program, so there's always some bias in it. So I'm not saying that follow this program, anyone will be successful. That's not what I'm saying, but I just want to make sure that there is a big difference for those who are still in business. That doesn't mean that they have a big corporation or grown or be a unicorn or from a startup to a scale up. Mostly it's about self-employed people, and they're still self-employed. But for us, that's still entrepreneurship, although we know that government is mostly leaning towards, okay, how can we ensure that people or companies grow because of the employment that's for them, of course, important. In this case, and specifically in this program, that was not the a goal. It was more like, okay, can we help people to become more entrepreneurial? Can we help people to at least stay in business as being one of the, well, not so much goals, but it was also seen as a success factor, if that's answer to your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Doctor.
Okay, thank you,
Great.
Nancy.
I see that Jackie has her hand up.
Yes,
Sure.
thank you very much, Dr. Martin. It was very interesting, and it really brings an awareness to us that I'm sure most of us did not have, except
Mhm.
it's not a real big aha that women are doing quite well. So I'm sure we can all agree on that one. However, it's their ability to do business in a different way, which I think is the
Mhm.
outstanding quality that I got from all of that, is that we
Mhm.
may be equal in our talents and skills. It's the way we approach business. It's the way we interact in our relationships. It's our openness, our willingness to listen and to collaborate. And you mentioned obviously that men are more determined because of their, so to speak, role to go forward and get it done by themselves, where women are far more instrumental in bringing together a team to
Mhm.
make sure that it gets done. So realizing those qualities, if I think I picked that up from what you said, is that not only do we need to, as women, continue that collaborative effort, because that's what gets us further, is that we need to impress upon the male population that possibly this might be a better way to get to point Y instead of going all the way in direct mode. Perhaps maybe a zigzag pattern might be a better way, because you're going to enlist more team members that will have a bigger influence, because each of them has a sphere of influence of 600 people. So in the end, the team is going to win more because there are more people involved versus the one male that went out and got it done is still catching up with all the people
Mhm.
that could be involved in what's happening. So I think, to me, that's what I learned from the whole thing. And I'm proud that we are doing it in a more, I wouldn't say soft skills, it's building relationships instead of going out and doing it. We build the grassroots and the listening to the needs of what's happening instead of assuming, when we love that word, that if you go straight forward like an arrow, it'll get done. So those are my
Yes.
remarks, and that's what I conjured up from your talk.
Yes. Well, I think that's very interesting, and I agree that in a near future or in the future, it could be that men learn from women how to do business differently and maybe get the job done rather than thinking very goal oriented, like, okay, there's a straight line, that's where I need to go. Yes, and I think that that's also in time, that's something that is changing. It doesn't make them less ambitious. Only the way to get the ambition or to get the goal to the goal is different. Yes, and I already think you see some of that specifically with social enterprises. There is a difference also in why do you do things and how do you get there. Yes, totally true. Thank you very much for your comment, Jackie.
Absolutely. Then when you put culture, I'm looking at this
Hmm.
screen as much as I can conjure up from at least the people I know that are here. You bring culture into the story, and it adds an entirely different dimension as to the role of male and female in the culture that exists. And I could
Hmm.
imagine at least 3 different positions on this screen where the women are not considered anything except the lowest end of the culture as far as being entrepreneurs. So we have to mix in there the cultural differences and realize you can't just bring a group in and say, this is going to be done. It has to be built on a relationship that builds the cultural protocol as well. And I think of Phoebe, and she actually works in Liberia in many of
Hmm.
the lower, um, well, that's not lower, it's not a good way to put that, but women are not in a position where they are leading a lot of things. And now she could report that's different, but the point is the protocol for the society is something that needs to change. And that's also by changing what women are able to do and giving them that voice to be able to show they are responsible and able to change what's out there.
Yes, true.
That's
Very
just my
true.
take.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that presentation, and thanks for the questions, Jackie and Nancy. Just flashing up again the events for the rest of the week, and again, not included here is the after party, which takes place tomorrow evening from 1900 to 2300 GMT here in this same room. So save the link, and please come back and join us for that. We are now joined by Miss Indiana Gregg, who is one of my favorite female entrepreneurs that I have met in the last year. And I'm happy that she is able to join us. And we are going to be discussing the topic of how can we eliminate barriers to entry for female entrepreneurs? Because when I heard those two stats that by far the majority of entrepreneurs around the world are male, but there's no real difference in skill sets between male and female entrepreneurs. There are some differences, but they're not glaring. It's not that one is better. It's just different aspects. Once I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. So this really is a barrier to entry problem. At that point, the question is, okay, what are those barriers to entry and how can we start knocking them down? A lot of people, kind of talk about women's empowerment as women needing to be given some kind of advantage or a leg up or any of that. I don't believe that. I think for the most part, we just need to eliminate these barriers and get out of their way. I think they're more than capable. They can empower themselves. But yeah, definitely would love to hear Indiana's take on that. Are you with us, Indiana?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Thanks for joining.
Great. Yeah, well, I think there are several factors here at play. First of all, women have kind of come into their own since the late 60s, burning their bras and entering the workforce. So they didn't have that kind of male network that, had grown over the last couple centuries prior to that. But women have gotten organized and started to team together. However, in spaces like venture capital or spaces, primarily venture capital, they do have a disadvantage because statistically they only get 2% of the total global venture capital invested. So there's definitely a roadblock there. And it's not necessarily because they're not building scalable companies. Obviously, technology wasn't a traditional sector for women for a really long time, but that suppression is over. I think there are loads of people, women building scalable companies. And I think that the barrier is really there's kind of an unconscious bias going on for that to be happening within venture capitalist teams. And it's not just by the men who are making those choices, it's by men and women both, due to a traditional idea of what a woman should inherently be or, claim as their profession. And so certainly in technology and in science and STEM, this is a big problem. It's a big obstacle. How do you break through that? I think it's really fundamentally about persistence. I think women just have to, unfortunately, try harder, cast the net wider, and have that grit and keep going.
All right. Thank you very much for those opening comments. And when we circle back around to you, we'd love to have you introduce yourself as well. I know that we're doing things a little bit backwards, but that's kind of on purpose, that we want to break things up a little bit and have a little bit more fun tonight than we might otherwise. I do have two other people that I do need to introduce right now. So first of all is Ms. Pauline Rono from Nairobi, Kenya, who is supposed to be co-moderating this event with me. She's a little bit under the weather right now, so I will be doing most of the speaking, but she's going to be jumping in with a couple of questions of her own. And then also just joining us, is our other speaker for this segment, Miss Fatoumata. I'm not going to try your last name, so I'll allow you to properly introduce yourself and give us your initial take on how can we eliminate barriers to entry for female entrepreneurs. Are you with us, Fatoumata? And Poe, did you want to weigh in on this? And Poe is our global director for recruiting and onboarding. So I pretty much let her have the floor whenever she has something she wants to say because she's putting in so much work for us. But I'm not sure if she's just not muted or if she's actually trying to weigh in.
No, I'm just not muted. Sorry,
Okay.
Trent.
All right. All right. So while we wait for Fatoumata to get her audio worked out, yeah. So venture capital, clearly that is one of the big issues that women just aren't getting funded as much. I'd also like to talk about the confidence gap. So what can we do to inspire more women to take that leap, to become entrepreneurs, and even possibly even more importantly, to do it more than once? Because the average entrepreneur fails their first time out, and frequently they fail the first 2 or 3 or 4 times that they try, and that's one of those, I think, secrets, not so secret things about entrepreneurship, is the typical entrepreneur is not very good at it their first time around. So anybody wants to weigh in on that topic of that confidence gap of how can we get more women to take the leap, or if they do fail the first time, to try again? Indy?
I kind of already spoke there for a little while, but yeah, well, I think there are a lot of female entrepreneurs out there, and they are doing it more than once or twice. I don't think that the problem is a lack of female entrepreneurs. I think the issue is that they're perhaps not taken as seriously. And there's been a lot of bad rap around female founders in the past few years as well. And I think that they get picked on a little bit more than men, But let's just take your country, the United States, right? Our country. I was born there too. Women who started businesses represent like 49% of businesses started in the United States. So encouraging more women to take up their cross and become a founder isn't necessarily the issue. I think persistence always beats resistance, and I think that the confidence gap may be part of the issue. But again, in order to start a business, unless you're self-funding, generally it falls back to things like banking. Be able to get money from the bank, be able to raise capital from even angel investors before you get to venture capital. There are certain obstacles, seems, that women have more than their male counterparts in any case. So statistically, the fact that you only get 2% of all venture capital, but 49% of businesses were started by women in the last few years, and those are real numbers. There's definitely something wrong here. So I don't know. You guys tell me what that is.
All right. Well, I see Fatoumata has logged back in. Possibly now the audio will be working. Are you with us?
I am. you guys?
I'm getting a lot of static.
I am at home. Let me see if I can move it around a little bit, if that helps.
Okay, we're hearing you a little bit clearer now.
Okay. Let me check. We got multiple conferences here. Maybe this is a better spot.
Yeah, we're getting a notification that your bandwidth is low.
Huh. Oh, I apologize, guys. So you're not able to hear me at all.
It's really broken up. Again, we're still getting that notification about your bandwidth being low.
Unfortunately, I'm not in the office. I am at home. I was thinking that I would be able to do it at home, but it looks like it's not coming through as I wanted to.
Right now,
So-
it's not too bad. So maybe if you freeze in that spot, we can hear from you for a couple of minutes at least.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very, very excited to be part of this group, and I would definitely share as much as I have experienced myself about what do I think about removing a barrier for women to join the entrepreneurship, and maybe what do we do about the confidence gap for women in the entrepreneurship? Is that the topic?
Yeah, basically, yeah, jump in. I mean, if you want to talk about a different aspect of barriers to entry, feel free. Floor is yours for, again, we'll try to get your take, at least one solid take from you.
Okay, thank you. So I would think the barrier to entry, especially for women, and based on my experience, is access to market. How do you break into the market to get, for example, whether it's the services or products? How can you have access to market so that you would be able to succeed as fast as men or as big as men? One of the biggest barriers I think is the access to market. So the second thing that I could say in terms of confidence gap, how do we close the confidence gap? What I would say about that would be to join as much network as possible, something like what we're doing right now, whether it's in terms of a local network or national, at the national level or international level. Joining as many network as possible is the key, and a bunch of the trade centers also is, and also being part of speakers, different speaking engagement, whether it's the libraries or new places. All of those different things would help women build confidence and correct the way they're doing, presenting themselves as a confident person to be among entrepreneurs. I apologize again for my connection. I wanted to really be able to participate more than I am doing right now. But those are the two aspects that I wanted to share with you. Or maybe chances are you already spoke about those.
No, I think that's a very, very good perspective. Thank you for sharing and making the effort. We were able to hear you pretty well there. Yeah, I see that we've also been joined now by Dr. Hanadi from Kuwait. Would you like to give us your perspective on how can we eliminate barriers to entry or barriers to success for female entrepreneurs? Dr. Hanadi.
Yes, hi, how are you, Trent? And Martina, how are you? And I say hi for all of you. It is a great topic to be discussed and focusing about women entrepreneurs. My opinion to break the barriers to be success and to be sustained in the market is just working hard and focus in your work, and try to be optimistic, and to be also running the initiative. I have one word from a very success professors. I learning a lot from these professors, and he told me, if you want to destroy your anime, just working hard, not only one hard, working hard and working hard and working hard. It's the easiest and the shortcut to destroy your anime and to sustain in the market. Because who's destroying you or who's planned to eliminate you from the market, they need to take your place. They need to take your initiative. They need to take your position in the market. Based on that, we need to focus and working hard. And from my opinion, try to be all the time implementing the latest technology, the latest innovation strategy. And I know most of the people knowing about the latest strategy for the innovation, specifically Dr. Martina having their perspective about how he implement the innovation strategy for the entrepreneurs. And there are many other strategies, such as doing strategy from Professor Edward Morris, doing strategies, the name of their books and their strategy. And there are other strategies or other strategic, we call it strategies. And there are many, and there are 360 innovation strategy, and there are many strategy. If you're running or implemented those strategy in your real life, and I think you'll be extraordinary, and you can reserve your right and reserve your position in the market. This is my own opinion and experiences. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and I want to kind of circle back to the comment from Waven in the chat. As you know, I think also what Indiana was talking about women not being taken seriously, and not necessarily this isn't necessarily from a problem solving, but more just of a overall messaging for female entrepreneurs who might be having doubts if they're not going as fast as their male counterparts. Just acknowledging the fact that, yeah, unfortunately, the odds are still somewhat stacked against you for a variety of reasons. And obviously, we do want to keep looking for solutions. How can we reduce those odds? But I think overall, it's very important for female entrepreneurs to not get discouraged. And also, one of the things that I don't see being talked about a lot in these types of forums is how many entrepreneurs succeed because they catch a lucky break, or because there's a personal relationship. You know, Bill Gates' success story based on his stepfather giving him a $50,000 loan. How many of these, amazing, modern, super successful male entrepreneurs, Jeff Bezos being supported by his wife while he was starting Amazon, all of these stories that probably don't get told often enough. That's just, kind of my message for this particular topic for any female entrepreneurs that are listening. Is if you're getting at all discouraged because things aren't going as fast for you as you see some of your male counterparts, just recognize the fact that they are probably getting some kind of advantages that you're not getting. So I think overall, there's a lot more that we as a society can do to support female entrepreneurs. But Indy, do you want to jump back in? You're muted still.
I think going back to being taken seriously, I think there needs to be a lot more female role models in the verticals where women are struggling the most. I think technology is one of them. I've been in tech for 25 years, and I've been in so many meetings where, we're talking about technical things and I'm glossed over and people are like, oh, you don't need to come to the tech meeting, or, and you're like, what? So there are several situations where there is kind of a psychological bias when you're a younger woman, and I've been a founder 5 times, and you may be in the childbearing years. There are these questions about, well, are you serious? You may be, what's going to stop you from going and having a baby that will prevent you from doing your life, So, and the reality is you can have as many children as you want and still have a career. I mean, I was a rock star. I traveled around Europe. I brought my kids with me. I started 4 companies and I'm on my 5th company, and I still have 3 children. They're grown up now, they're in their late 20s, but just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you have these kind of traditional family roles. You may happen to have a husband who cooks, or happen to have whatever, a partner who is looking after the homemaking in some cases, and we're all different. So I think that's really an important point. When it comes to women and confidence, you want to be clear about who you are, what you do, what your experience is. And I find a lot of times when women have been pitching to me in the past, that they don't highlight who they are and why is this particular project or startup important to them? What's that relationship? And pitch it, so with so much conviction. And men are better at doing that. Women don't talk about themselves a lot. We're more social beings. We don't focus on metrics of our career as much as men do. So having a clear script that's convincing is probably part of a part of the script that you need to rehearse in your mind. Don't forget to tell them about the Olympic medal you won, or don't forget to tell them about the company that you scaled to 50 million users, or these things. You need to have a mental script of, this is where I started, this is my little roadmap, here's where I got to, and these are my success points. And by the way, I had some failures too, and grab their attention. And then another issue is, I think, more female investors, more women need to come out investing with that, remit of, I'm going to invest in the best female entrepreneurs I can find, because studies show that female companies that do make it through the hurdles tend to perform or outperform their male counterpoints statistically when it comes to profitability. So there are a lot of points that, women are just as good as men. We can work just as hard as men. Sometimes we work harder, depends on the man. And I'm just saying, but it's not men's fault. I think it's women and men who have this unconscious bias, and that don't necessarily take their female counterparts seriously. I've had women who would ask me questions or, put me through hurdles, and then I'd be like watching all the male counterparts in the room and not having to go through all those hoops. So it's all of us, and it's the way society, I think, innately we consider women caregivers and mothers, and of course they are. But from a career standpoint, there needs to be a leveling up for sure. And I'll stop talking.
Thanks, Indy. I see that Olive has her hand up. And again, as our global director for online events, I tend to get out of her way when she wants to participate.
Trent, first, Trent, you didn't mention that Indiana is a singer and songwriter. So
I've given her multiple opportunities to introduce herself. I love touting her horn, but yeah.
Yeah. So glad to meet her. My question is not only for her, but for everyone. When you talk about barriers, I think as women, we can be barriers for our fellow women. We don't like lifting women up. And I think that's a problem. That's a barrier.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good point. And I think it's really important for women to, the only way we're going to get through this is if we create our own networks and we are pulling each other up the rungs and becoming mentors and really looking after other female entrepreneurs and building those relationships. And I think that this is changing quite a bit. There are a lot of female networks out there now. There are a lot of women who are doing this, but there's still a massive gap compared to men. I'll give you an example. I went to a VC event in Paris, which was all women. It was called WVCE. And this was a few months ago. And it was 500 women in a room in Paris, and all venture capitalists and a lot of founders. And they did networking. And women were approaching women and talking about things and pitching to each other and finding out what each other were doing. And the difference of energy in that room compared to when you go to, an event with both sexes, when you're standing in the circle, the attentiveness that the women had for each other in that all women's event compared to going to the same type of networking event for, like, I went to Sifted, for example, just a few days earlier. Same thing, except it was a bunch of guys in the room. And the women, I think there was confidence issues where going up and walking into a circle of men talking is more intimidating, perhaps for many women. But watching the dynamic and the way women felt more, I guess, liberated, because women don't tend to walk in with their ego as much. And men tend to walk in thinking, I'm going to impress him. There's a little bit more of that going on. I think probably just due to testosterone versus estrogen at these events. And I think more of those types of events where women feel like they are in a safe environment and that there's not going to be any issues if they talk to another woman compared to if you walk up and you speak to a man. The banter is completely different. The vibe is completely different. And I just think that's just because we are what we are, right? But yeah.
I think it's as much a issue with the system. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, excuse me, Trent. I'm so sorry I joining late because I've been in a previous conference and I tried to close it out to join your conference. We need to be optimistic. One case cannot reflect or generalize for all the people. For example, if some people is working, accept my apology to saying same as the slaves or in lower positions in some companies or in such work, okay, then they want to suddenly want to shift their life and to be entrepreneurs. All the study proven that 75% of the success entrepreneur, it's a women. The women accept my apology to say that it's stronger than man. There are justifications for that. Yes, you laughing. This is your opinion, but don't generalize it for all the women worldwide. I'm not talking about something it's unrealistic. Just Google it and select everything. First of all, I would like to draw your attention about some secret in the women. And I think Professor Martina knowing, because Professor Martina taking the entrepreneurs from psychological aspect, there are an area in the brain, okay? You can check with your, you can check it with the doctors. Okay, it's a doctor's, not from my opinion. There are an area in the brain, okay, in the women having more concentrations, deep analysis, problem solve it, in their brain different totally from the women. This is the reason why the God leaving mom doing all in one, all the jobs in one. She is a mom, she is a boss, she is a president, she is teacher teaching their life. She is teaching even though she teaching the men, and she teaching in the family, whether it's their position is sisters or a wife or whatever their position, all the time, the mothers, the women, it's teaching, okay? And there are successful cases, and there are many women worldwide is highly successful, whether it's in entrepreneur sections or it is a bosses or a president. We cannot taking, now I'm listening for 2-3 people. I'm not generalizing for all. This is my own opinion based on the studies, based on the realities. But if there are single cases, and we can call it is a case study, same as when you're comparing developed countries with developing countries. You cannot comparing United States with Philippines. Okay, this is a United States, and this is an island, a Philippines. It's not mean that Philippines is not power, but you cannot do it. You need to have the same criteria. God doing 2 things, 2 gender, no third. I don't care about what is the third. It is men and women. Then we cannot say I cannot accept myself because I'm poor, I'm women, nobody give me respect, I never get luck in my life, all the rich is men. It's not in our field, is not in our domain, it's not in our roadmap. Based on that, we need to teach the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur mean you are thinking in different way. Entrepreneur mean you break all the barriers and you jumping for the life in good idea, a new way of life, solving problems. And this is my opinion. And I don't want the discussions today taking, or let's say, putting between quotation marks, taking the women in the corner as a poor, as she don't have any power, she can do anything because I'm women. Okay, accept my apology. This is my opinion based on my experience, based on the reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Well, we've got 6 more minutes before our next segment starts. And I know Fatimata has been battling connection issues. I see she's back here now and unmuted. So I assume you would like to weigh in.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I apologize to the person who just got done speaking. I'm not laughing at you. I have many brothers, and I worked in male-dominated industry like technology, and so when I'm laughing or smiling, it's just confirming what you're saying. From what I understand, what you're trying to say is, let's just keep our head up as a woman and keep pushing and keep working against all odds. Eventually, we will succeed. That's what I take away from what you're trying to say. So, but I'm not laughing at you at all. So I understand the barriers, and I think I agree that we have to acknowledge the barriers. And I also like to confirm the fact that we need women mentors, a bunch of women mentors, and surround ourselves with as many mentors as possible, whether it's men and women or both combined. We definitely need to have mentors. So I just wanted to say that part.
Accept my apology. Can I know you are from which country?
I am from Mali, West Africa.
Oh, South Africa. Yes,
West.
You need to. I'm from Kuwait. You need to working more hard. Okay, you need to work more hard, specifically in Africa. they need to work more harder than others.
Well, I don't believe that. I think I could say we need to work smarter, but harder than others. I can see persistent. We can try to work persistently, try to break those barriers down. But as in terms of working harder, unless you're talking about persistence, that we need to work persistently. But I believe that we need to work smarter. You know, we have to surround ourselves with more resources, so that we can actually break through barriers that we cannot do alone.
Exactly. I'm in total agreement with your opinion. I mean, you working harder. I don't mean you didn't work smarter. While you are a manager or entrepreneur, then of course you will be in the smart area, in the smart region. This is the reason why I told working hard, working hard, working hard. This is my statement. Again, I remind all of you, if you want to destroy your enemy, any enemy at any level, just keep working hard and working smarter and working hard. Thank you so much.
I see that.
Yeah, Trent, just I would like to say we will deal with the African entrepreneur in the next session. So if someone want to postpone the discussion for this session. Thank you very much.
Yep, very, very much. So Pauline, I see your hand is up.
Well, I'll ask my question in the next segment.
Okay.
Just make
all right. Very good. All right. Well, we have 3 minutes left, and I'm just going to go ahead and just throw something out there. I know we're not going to have enough time to get into it, but I do want to thank everybody for participating. We do have a specific a slightly more set schedule for the next 40 minutes, specifically on the topic of African entrepreneurship. But then after that, we're going to circle back and we're going to weigh back in on tonight's final topic, which is what to expect on your entrepreneurial journey. And we're going to be inviting all of our speakers to just come back and just share some of their tips on what they've learned. So we'll go ahead and turn the floor over in 2 minutes to Dr. Huda and her guests. But before we do that, I'm just going to go ahead and, like I said, throw this out there that I think that part of the reason why there might be a bit of a funding gap is that, in my experience, a female founder is more likely to be an impact entrepreneur than a male founder. Doesn't mean there aren't great male impact entrepreneurs out there. Just saying, I've noticed a slight trend that when a woman starts a business, almost always she's already thinking about how that business can have a positive impact on society. Whereas a lot of male entrepreneurs, when you ask them, what is your social impact platform? If they're a startup, you'll frequently get the answer, we don't know yet. We'll figure that out after we start making money, and we don't have any money to spend on social impact projects. So I just want to plant that seed, and if anybody wants to get back to me personally, or again in the final segment, or in the networking afterwards on that topic, if they agree or disagree on that. But I think this is one of those messages that we can address this barrier to funding if we approach this from a social impact perspective, that the more support that we can give for female entrepreneurs who have already figured out their social impact platform, the more role models we can create of entrepreneurs who are doing both, who are figuring out not only a way to be a woman and a mother and taking care of all of those other details, but also doing that double challenge of making money while also having a positive impact on society. And I'm very grateful myself that I've been able to interact with so many of those amazing women from all over the world through Spirit of the Game and the Impactful Women's Network. So I'm going to turn the floor over now to Dr. Huda for the next segment. But I just wanted to personally express my gratitude for all of the amazing women, both in Spirit of the Game and Impactful Women's Network and around our extended networks. Thank you all for your inspiration. Keep being the role models that you are. Keep shining your light brighter and brighter. Do not be afraid to stand up and say, I'm doing this and I'm making money and I'm having an impact, and you should too. And if all you're doing is making money, you should be ashamed. Get out of the way so the rest of us can succeed. That's the message I want for all impact entrepreneurs, to be loud and clear. Thank you all again for your contributions, and I look forward to weighing back in with you in 40 minutes. But I'm going to get out of the way now and let Dr. Huda and her crew talk about female entrepreneurship in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Hi, ladies. Happy International Women Week. Actually, we have the whole year to celebrate. Every day is our day, so we can make it, we make celebration. My colleagues, Michelle from Global Policy House UK and Fatima Bayou from Impact Switzerland, the Youth and Women Program, they will join me. Michelle and Fatima, are you with us?
I am, Dr. Huda. Good evening.
Yeah. Luckily, we have Michelle, the expert in African, actually digital and blockchain issues. Michelle working for a long time in women African, and she is participated in high level. I'm not going to say more. Michelle, I'll give you the floor, you and Fatima, to introduce yourself, to listen to you from about your experience, and then I will add my contribution. I think we have many others important contributions. Let's listen to you to manage our time perfectly, to listen to everyone. Is it okay to start with Michelle?
Yes, of course.
Excuse me, Huda, can I know you are from which country? But just I need to know because you told me celebration.
Yeah, you are right. I introduced the others. I forget to introduce myself. My name is Huda. I am rolling the new position now in the twin. The Impactful Women in the MENA region, the North African and Middle East countries.
Okay, you are from where? You are from where?
Originally, I am from Libya. I am based in Europe.
Which country?
Switzerland.
Okay, are you working with the trend? Because your name, it's I see your name. Maybe it's. Did you know me?
I listened to you, Hanadi, isn't it?
Yes.
I listened to you, Hanadi, from previous sessions.
No. I think I know. We don't know each other's because your name. It's maybe I know you from previous event.
Yeah. No, it will be pleasure to know you more, Hanadi.
I mean, you working with the trend.
Yes.
Okay. And you need to celebrate. Did you know the March? It's International Women Month.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, 21. It's a Mom Day, right? Did you hear about that day?
Yes, I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, Michelle.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Dr. Huda. It's a real pleasure to join everybody this evening. Greetings from UK. This side is freezing. We're quite cold, but it's a pleasure to join all of you. Thank you so much for making time. My name is Michelle Chivunga, and I'm the CEO of Global Policy House. Global Policy House focuses on emerging technologies and supporting, mainly we work in emerging markets, I would say, especially in Africa, where we're looking at leveraging the digital economy to help to grow economies in Africa, especially leveraging things like data, blockchain, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and other data-driven technologies. So we very much focus our efforts around technologies. I'm really, really pleased to hear the earlier comments around impact-led initiatives. I can agree with the gentleman who was speaking earlier on that definitely female founders like myself have, from day one, we thought of impact. So for us, it was very, very important that, you know, with the technologies and the focus around technology, that we actually utilize technologies to deliver impact, especially impact in emerging markets. In terms of where I'm from myself, I'm Zambian girl. I've lived in the UK for over 20 years, so I'm Zambian British. But I'm very much, I love both worlds. You know, I love being from Zambia, but I also love being a UK citizen, because the UK has also given me quite a lot in terms of knowledge. And also, obviously, my home country as well has given me a lot of support. So it's wonderful to join you all. I think, you know, they focus around technology, and the future really is very much being driven around emerging technologies. We're also very passionate at Global Policy House about women. And young people. And we believe that if we invest in women, we're actually investing in everybody else. So, you know, we're not leaving out the men. We love you all the men out there. We don't at all, you know, not love you. We love you all, but we do believe that with women, you get the support, and women will always focus and center the support around communities and everybody in that community. So we are very passionate about women, and most of our work is very impact-led. And is very much geared towards supporting women, especially women in emerging markets and young people in emerging markets. And of course, we're using the digital economy and also focused around investments as well, driving investments to support more women to access capital and finance, which is another area I'm very passionate about. My background myself, I used to work in banking and finance. Before banking and finance, I was in government policy. And spend quite a bit of time working with government, and still do today, you know, where we're influencing a lot around how governments think about the digital economy and how they can leverage the digital economy to actually help to generate wealth and value, especially for, you know, underrepresented groups, including women of color and women from different backgrounds. I think that's my enough of my background. I mean, there's you can follow me on LinkedIn and all that. You find a lot of stuff about what we're doing, but it's a real pleasure to be here, especially on Women's Month, and we're very excited about Women's Month. We've got quite a few initiatives in place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Actually, I work with Michelle in North Africa and Morocco. We met at the beginning in Morocco in the blockchain digital event.
Yes.
Actually, maybe Michelle didn't mention to she is rewarded many times as a impactful woman in her field. So really, we are proud to have her today. From professional to young entrepreneur experience from Switzerland, Fatima Bayo. Fatima, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
The floor is yours, Fatima. Tell us about yourself, your organization.
Good evening to everyone present here today.
Good evening.
My name is Fatima Bayo, and I'm a member of Women and Youth Program at Impact Organization. Okay, our organization was established in 2020 in Switzerland, having its headquarters Swiss, founded from the personal expense of its founders. And since then, it has been one of the most active NGOs in the scope of Swiss cultural development. We are also looking forward to great collaboration with everyone who is supporting and agreeing with aims and goals of impact.
Yeah, Fatima, I remember the impact activity and event during the situation of post-conflict and war in Libya, when because I was part of it, maybe I can tell a little about this unique situation during how female entrepreneurs suffering during the severe situation like post-conflict or war. So we witnessed this in Libya, where the industry of handicraft didn't stop, and the female entrepreneur preserve this intangible culture, handicraft, even during the hard situation of conflict. So I remember Impact Switzerland encourage and support those women, giving workshop, more psychological engagement, etc. So yeah, thank you, Fatma. Do you have something to add? Fatma may be disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah, so would you like to add something? Would you like to say something else? Maybe the connection with Fatima is not clear. Nancy, Jackie, how are you doing? Happy International Women's Day. So, and
doing great.
Yeah, I'm checking all names here. Everybody, hi. So my idea is just to warm up the dialogue.
Yeah,
and
right.
What do you think, Jackie?
Yeah, you're doing well.
Yeah,
you're doing well. You have so many countries represented on this screen. They're all trying to figure out how they're supposed to position themselves. So
yeah,
just keep the ball rolling. You're doing really well. If we could hear from other cultures, that would be really wonderful about some of their challenges and about how they're getting around those challenges would be really wonderful in Africa.
So I like to say something, and I'm very encouraged. I believe I introduced myself earlier, but I'll do it again really quickly. My name is Fatu. I'm from Mali, West Africa, and my background is in technology as well. Worked for IBM and 20 people at most places. But now I'm doing the social entrepreneurship and the nonprofit. And speaking of, our leader who spoke earlier, I did not get the name really well, but he was saying that what's important about removing the barrier for investment, especially for women, would be to be able to have the nexus of social impact and profit. So we started with the social impact, which is the nonprofit. And then when we found out that we were not getting anywhere with the nonprofit, getting funding, we created a social enterprise, and any profit that we made from that social enterprise was used to support the nonprofit. And that's when the banks started looking at us. They said, when we presented both businesses to them, one nonprofit and one for-profit, they said, we don't care about the nonprofit. Talk to us about your social enterprise. And so So I am very delighted to see Michelle from UK in here and saying that they definitely are focusing on the less represented and also emerging market, which is definitely Africa. I'd like to hear more about Michelle offline, about how you are helping the kind of enterprise like Jimmy Jama, our enterprise is dedicated specifically to opening the marketplace for product made in Africa. So it has to be authentically made in Africa. So, and we do go through villages. We go deep down to villages where women have skills, they make these beautiful products, but they just don't have access to market. So we go there, we train them in those villages, we bring the product, we make the product so it's like multiple countries making for one given product, multiple countries make a different part of those products, and then we bring it to market, which is the e-commerce that we have now online. I would love to be able to hear about what your company would do to bring an e-commerce, an African e-commerce to light.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you so much, Fatuma. And it's really lovely to meet you. And I'm dreaming about coming to your country in Mali. So at least I know somebody now in Mali, so I can come there. It's a pleasure to meet. I agree with you. I think, the future, our continent, especially in Africa, is made up of small, medium enterprises. In fact, not just small, but micro businesses and entrepreneurs. And what you have described very much is the areas we are quite passionate about, because we believe the more smaller micro entrepreneurs are really contributing quite a lot, but very, very poorly captured in terms of that commerce that you're talking about. So the e-commerce side of things is starting to pick up quite heavily in Africa. And I work a lot with the African Continental Free Trade Area team, the Secretariat now with the AFCFTA, which I hope people know what that is. But the Continental Free Trade Area is really meant to bring the whole continent of Africa together, especially when it comes to trade, and to also support small, medium enterprises, micro businesses, entrepreneurs to be able to operate in a market where they are benefiting, right, to your description, Fatuma, where the made in Africa products are actually getting a lot more support and visibility in terms of finance, access to markets, access to opportunities, trading between African countries much easier, less bureaucracy, less regulation, or proper regulation in place. So again, for us in our company, we're very excited about working on actually looking at some of the regulatory and policy environment to improve those policy environments for businesses and small businesses to operate under the CFTA. And then we're also looking to actually, in fact, we just launched last year an initiative called the 10 Million Women Initiative. The 10 Million Women Initiative is geared at supporting specifically what I described, underrepresented women, especially who are in the small, medium enterprise, micro businesses, to support with, number one, access to finance and capital. And then number two, of course, looking at training and skills development in various areas, not in just basic areas, but looking at what's coming in the future. So training in areas like digital skills, upskilling, right? How do you utilize that mobile you're holding? The mobile is not just to talk, right? You can do so many things with your mobile. How do we train women, even women in the rural areas, to start to leverage some of these digital tools so that they can either get better access to markets, they have better ideas about the pricing that they have, women in agriculture, farmers. These are our target markets. And then, of course, we want to provide, access to capital through small microloans but in a more clever way, right? In a smarter way. So it's not, they have to worry about getting to a bank, to get access to capital. No, there's new ways of providing finance and money using digital forms. Again, that is something that we are looking at as a company, and we're trying to deploy. And through the 10 Million Women Initiative, which we want to support 10 million women by 2030, especially in emerging markets, to really have access to the capital they need, because that's one of the biggest barriers. They cannot go to a bank because banks usually say, sorry, we cannot service you. Because either you don't have the collateral, you don't have the data or the information. And for us, we are very passionate, of course, specifically around emerging markets, because again, emerging markets is where you find small medium enterprises, businesses like Fatima has described, who actually don't have any support at all. And I really, and somebody talked about working harder earlier on. I mean, there's not a continent that I've been to that I've seen people work so hard, in the sense of working hard, not in the, as in Africa, where you see women especially, who are finding every way to try and get access to a bit of money so she can feed the family, she can send the child to school, all these things. Her thinking is very much around the community, and that is what we want to support, and we want to grow with our business, as well as obviously supporting businesses to leverage digital. And what I mean by digital is really looking at things like data, for example. When you understand how data is quite a valuable resource, and how you can use data to inform yourself in the business, to inform yourself on how you do your business, make decisions about things, it will help your business grow. And for small businesses or micro entrepreneurs on the continent in Africa, you actually see a lot of young entrepreneurs already doing this. They're already playing around with the digital tools I'm talking about. So it's not that we're really teaching them anything, but they need additional support to scale what they're already doing, especially in the fintech space, right? They need the additional capital. They need the additional information about how can I now grow my business and going to, moving from Angola to Zambia to Rwanda to Kenya. And how do we support that, right? From Libya, North Africa, even internationally, how do we get them to the Middle East, to the US, to UK here, right? And that's what we do for us as a business. We want to make it competitive enough for these businesses to actually scale and grow.
That's amazing. So, Nancy, I saw quite a few text messages because I'm joining through my cell phone. I can't capture those. I don't know if you would have a time to just copy those, and you can share it out with me later, and maybe find a way so all of us can connect with each other. Some people want to connect. I definitely want to connect with everybody here, and if there is a way we can connect with each other later.
One of the things I think everybody should do is to put their name and their information and probably the email so that other people here can actually have information. And then everyone can go down to the bottom of the chat. There are 3 buttons to the right there, and you can save the chat on your own computer. This way you will have everybody's information.
Nancy. Also, we have Impactful Women Network Africa, and on LinkedIn. So maybe this is another way for connecting. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for the informative contribution. Really, it's very informative. I have some statistic and numbers, but I prefer to listen to others, ladies. Maybe I mean, if someone, Nancy or Jacqueline or someone want to raise hand to speak, to contribute, this is your days, ladies, speak up. So use the opportunity. Yeah.
I'm so busy trying to get all the information into my database as fast as I can, even though I'm saving it, that yeah, it's beautiful. I am just so excited about the possible networking and collaboration that can happen here. I personally am working in about 10 countries, not only with women, also with men, though many of the projects are based around women's efforts, and to be able to teach them the skills and to be able to give them the education to be self-sustainable. So to be able to see things that the visibility of their products online where people that are already in technology delights the heck out of me. So I need to definitely get Fatima's, however she pronounces it, information. And then, of course, Michelle's with the funding. I mean, you guys are right. I just really want to know you because it's resources that I provide, especially in education to these. I'm working also with International Youth Parliament, and those have been my seeds, my grassroots of what I'm doing. And there are very active, at least 10 or 15 of those youth from 19 to 29-year-olds that are determined to make a high impact in their community. And those are the ones that I work with, and many of which are women, or at least are working on the women cause. So I put my information in the chat, and any of those that would like to provide resources in other countries, especially Africa. After my 2 years in Liberia in the Peace Corps, I am very adamant about Africa in any way possible. However, I would never neglect the UK and Italy and Mali, or any of the areas that are out there. It's bringing resources and education to women to be able to be their very best selves. So I really would love to have some sort of a just a spreadsheet would be really cool. Nancy, are you doing that, or maybe Huda's doing that? I don't know who's doing that, but that would be really cool. If people just put their stuff in the chat, then we could do that, couldn't we? Yeah, that would be wonderful, because as was said before, it's communication. It's communicating that you have commonalities and things that really could work with each other and impact what you're doing. And as I said early on, it's getting together in collaboration, the group that can build so much faster and stronger because of our spheres of influence. Women are known for opening their mouth, at least with other women. We need to get over that barrier to be able to do it with men. So yes, I'm delighted. And please, everyone, put your contact information in the chat. And I'm sure one of us will save it for those that are on their phone or somewhere else where it's not available.
Excuse me, Jacqueline, can I know you are from where?
Well, originally, California. Now in Arizona, with a side trip to Liberia for 2 years, working also intimately with Phoebe Ford
Liberia,
with
did you mean
relief.
Liberia? It's Libya?
Liberia, founded by Western American slaves, and I could go on and on. I won't.
Okay. You want to see the slaves?
No, I was just saying that that's the way it was founded. And Phoebe could go in and give you an education, because she is a Liberian, and that's who
I think what you're discussing today, I think there are what we call it non-profit organization working so hard supporting Africa women and Africa people and Africa countries to be scaling up, as well as the World Bank always supporting the cases. But we are today, I think, based on Trent invitations, talking about women in the entrepreneurs and how the women, it's success always. We don't discuss about the weaknessness about the Africa countries and how the countries it's not supporting the women, and the women feeling their position is so weak. By the way, Huda, we are from the richest country worldwide. Okay, we are from the GCC, the Gulf countries. We are 6 countries. Okay, and we are so rich, and the women living as a queen in the United Kingdom. Okay, while there are many people is supporting us, and all our government is supporting different than Africa countries. Their government pushing them down, and our countries is pushing us up, and we taking the positions of ministers and the position of a queen and the position and a higher position. And there are a very investment in the women side. We are, in comparing to the other countries, we are a success countries and a success models. Okay, when I talking about working hard, I mean this working hard, I mean, don't waste your time in social media. Don't waste your time talking with the poor people. Don't waste your time to losing your potential and using your passion by communicating with negative people. This is, I mean, working hard, and working hard mean focusing in your work, be more smarter, as she mentioned, and selecting a very good word, because the entrepreneur always smarter than others. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Hannah.
you.
Just I have one point here. If you talk about rich countries or poor countries, maybe in my opinion and from based on my experience, because I'm coming from a rich country in wealth, but poor in people. Okay, honestly, frankly speaking. So when we talk here, we talk about access to capital, access to financial sources, rather than being from rich country or poor countries. Sometimes we see the case of rich countries, okay, but we witness the lack of financial support or financial access. Women cannot access to fund, to financial support. Okay, so I think I know countries like, for example, Uganda. I'm not able to remember the statistic now, but they provide access to financial capital for young women entrepreneurs. So access here and educate, what I mean by education here, educate women with their rights, with financial resources, with funds. This is what I mean by education. So the key point here, access, in my point of view. So I'll leave the opportunity to the other ladies or maybe men. There, Trent was with us, or Julius, huh? No men with us, no.
They keep you celebrate alone. You live home alone.
And where's Joseph? We have a Joseph here. Where is Joseph really here?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, there's one, man. Okay, stand up.
I'm here also
yes.
and wanted
I
to.
like your name. I like your name.
There's
Yes. I like the names, Nancy. But put in your consideration, there are specifically for Africana people or Africana countries, the origin of rice. It's a minister of foreign in the United States, and she running all the world, over the world, with their power and their potential. Okay, and she didn't said from originally from this countries, or I live, my color is different than the others. I don't want to say the color about the black or white colors, and everything is disappear. And she is a power lady, and she reaching very high positions in the United States. And even though the President Obama, he reaching to be a president of the strongest countries worldwide, and he didn't mention about the colors, or because living poor, or originally from poor countries or poor family, I cannot reach this position. Then at the end of the day, we need to change our thinking, and we need to have beliefs that whether it's women or men, we need to working. Again, I remind to be working hard, and not only focusing on access to the resources. Access of the resources, this is not the part of myself. My country is offering all the resources all over the world, and there are many organizations worldwide offering many resources. Okay, starting from the United Nations, and there's organization is offering many funds worldwide, and everybody can accessing to those funds. Thank you so much.
So I'd like to interject very quickly about access. So there is something called now going on, and it has been going on for quite some time, and it's called decolonizing the funding sources. because there is a discrimination in terms of how people are having access to the funding. And if you get a chance to go online and look for those sources about decolonization of the funding sources. And I can give examples of it. But one quick example that I can give is, if you want to solve a problem in a country, the best way to solve the problem is to have the person who was raised in that problem, understand the problem, has the knowledge of resolving that problem. But that, okay, go ahead. Jackie, you want to say something? Oh, okay. So, well, honestly, it's as it might look to many people as if the fund is being distributed equally across the board. That's not the case, and that's why there was a topic about the barriers for women entrepreneurs. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that topic. And another thing that I'm talking about, beside the decolonization of the funding sources, it just escaped my mind. But that is a huge part of it, decolonizing how we are going about funding. And you could check, if you guys get a chance, I'm going to put it here in the chat. It's called Poverty Inc. The Poverty Incorporated is on Netflix. And that actually does a lot about how the big nonprofit
Lunch is ready, honey. Lunch is ready.
So they are the big nonprofit organizations are functioning, like the World Bank, like IMF, like you know, I forgot the third one. But if you check the Poverty Inc., you will find out that in fact the funds are now being distributed the way it's supposed to be.
Excuse me, sister. Do you hear about African Fund? This Association of African. I can share with you this foundation. Have you heard about it?
No, I haven't. I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, I will share with you the website link. Okay.
Yeah, you're Fatma, right?
No, my name is Huda.
Oh, well, Huda. Okay, I didn't. It didn't come up on my screen here. Thank you, Huda. I would love to have it. If you put it in the chat, my computer is open now as well as my cell phone. I will get it. Otherwise, definitely let us all connect. We definitely need to connect.
Okay. I will. So yeah, we would love to hear. I don't know if Fatima is still with us from Impact Switzerland. Michelle, Michelle is still with us, or?
I'm still here. Yes, it'd be great to hear from Fatima. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, Michelle, do you remember when we always share those women and little girls digital access? Do you remember last time you had a? Yeah, can you share with everybody what we talked about last time in Morocco?
Yes. No. So in Morocco, we talked a lot around supporting a pipeline of young women.
Yeah.
To come into the digital economy, and you know, through training, education, but there's clever ways again of how to do that. So for us, we use, you know, kind of virtual reality, you know, gamification. You can use games to also teach even young people. You know, we have a new product that's coming out this year, where we're going to be teaching young kids from as early as 7 years old all the way to 16 years old, how they can start to learn in a different way. They can be learning anything, but they're using it through gamification. So they might think like they're playing a game, but actually they're learning about a different concept. So the whole education space, we are innovating and disrupting how education is done. Because if you notice, a lot of young people, they no longer want to sit in a classroom and just be, you know, be talked to like that. They want to engage in different ways, whether they're playing games, whether they're, and then they can connect with their peers across the world. That's the beauty of the digital economy. So you no longer have to move from your country or your home. You can still interact with people in China, in London, in whatever, and then that opens up massive opportunities. It's the same in business. This is what's happening in business. Entrepreneurs in Africa and entrepreneurs in London and Hong Kong and China and Singapore are interacting now because of the digital economy and because of those platforms that we have. So what we call the platform economy is driving changes in the way people interact, and the whole digital skills with young girls especially is what we talked about in Morocco, and how we can support more young girls to come in and be excited about being in technology. So for me, I remember I was telling you, Dr. Huda and Mr. Rahal, when I was talking in Morocco, is that, I don't want to see just myself, in the spaces of blockchain, right? I don't want to see just as one of the only few girls, especially girls from Africa, Black girls, coming from Africa, being the only one kind of visible in that space. This is what we are trying to transform. I want to see million others, and it doesn't matter what your background or your color or where you come from. No, you should have every opportunity, to participate in this new world of the digital economy. Because this new world of the digital economy is going to continue and is actually going to get bigger and bigger and bigger the more people understand it and the more government invests in it. And back to the lady who was talking on the Gulf side. So again, we've started doing quite a lot of work in the Middle East, in Saudi as well. We are starting to engage, with these same areas I'm talking about. And in those regions, they have invested very heavily and put budgets, a huge amounts of budget when it comes to the digital economy, things like blockchain, artificial intelligence, and that's going to grow there. You can see already, be it in, you go to the UAE in Dubai or you go to Saudi, the money is kind of being channeled in those areas of growth, right? So we need to kind of do similar things also when it comes to emerging markets, where you start to invest in what we call growth areas, and you invest in the human capital. So the human capital includes the young people, the kids, the women, the people who are going to be interacting in this digital economy. Now, our challenge for us, just like any other businesses, for me, the challenge as an entrepreneur, especially a Black entrepreneur, a Black woman entrepreneur, in doing business around the world, is that one, you don't always get a very good reception when you're looking for funding, because people are very skeptical about, oh, are you really in blockchain? Do you really understand the economy? Do you understand the whole space or not? So there's a lot of questions that men will not get, in the same position as myself, and that's kind of been very frustrating, because I've spent years and years, of course, looking at this, but I always urge entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, that don't let that kind of put you off. If anything, for me, those rejections I've had years and years have actually driven me even more to do what I'm doing, has actually fueled a lot of passion to say, no, actually, it doesn't have to be like this. In fact, I want to change it. And I want to provide access to capital for women ourselves, even under our own umbrella, because I know the potential of this space. So it's very important to have confidence in yourself. It's important to believe in your vision. When you set your vision, you must be able to follow that vision and deliver the vision. That is very, very important. But at the same time, the barriers are there. We can tackle the barriers, but it's also important for entrepreneurs themselves to take ownership and to also, learn how to cope as well and manage barriers, because the barriers will always be there, I think.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I actually I encourage Michelle to join Impactful Women. I'm trying to convince her. I know you are very busy, because really we need to fill the gap of digitalizing Impactful Women. So, and blockchain, of course. I remember Michelle and me, we have very inspiring story. I will share the photo of our first meeting. Yeah, I consider myself the white African, Michelle the black African. So actually we have challenge of this kind of prove how women together can make an impact. Although we've been busy, but we are in touch from time to time. We exchange our impactful in somewhere else. So now again, Michelle, you should join Impactful Network now, okay?
Yes, yes, I
Okay.
will.
So yeah, ladies, speak up. So we have like 20 ladies. Olivia, hi.
Hi.
Hi. Um, I didn't hear your voice in our segment.
Thank you, Dr. Huda. And
Hi.
all shared with your group. I would like to introduce Anditi.
Mm-hmm.
This is one lady, so young, but I've admired because of what she's done. As much as I don't even know where to start, but I'll let her introduce herself and what she's been up to. And thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much, Olive. I think you're always, you have the nicest things to say, and you're just like so kind and gracious. So thank you so much for having me here. And hi, everyone. I apologize that I couldn't be a part of the conversation earlier, but I joined in to hear some incredible things about women in STEM, which gives me a lot of joy. And to kind of give a brief description about me and my work. So my I'm so sorry. I think there was, yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll go now. So yes. So my name is Aditi and I am from India. And I'm currently speaking from Boulder, Colorado. A little about myself is that I am an engineer by education. So I studied mechatronics engineering, and post that, I think just growing up, there has been always this vision and passion for social impact, social change. So that's what I have been doing since I was 19. When I was 19, I started my first nonprofit, which was for women in the slum areas of India. And we used to help them with menstrual education, hygiene, and awareness. And I would say continuing, like just continuing that work and that journey has always made me realize how much I enjoy working on the grassroots level, how much I cherish and love being a part of different communities who I can actually learn from. And soon after that, I think just like working with for different causes, different organizations, from sex trafficking to child rights to women empowerment, I have always found like a deep connection whenever I'm able to work with a community. And 3 years back, I actually started a nonprofit. The name is Speaking Gray, and it comes from my personal experience of dealing with anxiety, depression, and just different mental health struggles, which made me feel really called to start something of my own, to create a space which is safe and which acknowledges that mental health is not black and white. And that's why the name is Speaking Gray. So yeah, through my work, I think I've been very grateful to meet incredible people, to talk about the things I've done and the things I want to do in the next couple of years, in the last few years, whatever I have done. And it always brings me to, I would say, to the events, to the organizations, who are just so encouraging, just like I think Spirit of the Game Foundation. I was a part of one of their panels a couple of months back, and I'm always just delighted to be a part of this again. So yeah, that's like a brief summary of where I am today, what I hope to do. But I can definitely say that I'm most passionate about social justice and mental health awareness. And I think, I mean, all of us, no matter where we are, different parts of the world, whether it's, people of color or not people of color, I think there is just so much which needs to be done when it comes to mental health. And as a society or as individuals, we are really behind in making sure that we acknowledge that for ourselves and we acknowledge it for others. That just like physical health, I mean, mental health should be a priority, and that is not even a question. So yeah, with that, I would be very happy to kind of like let anyone else who has any questions, or yeah, if there's anything for me to kind of like clarify more on, I look forward to hearing from you.
Aditi, I love what you're doing, especially around the mental health. I'm also very passionate about mental health. I think it's one of those areas where you know, it's not, especially where we come from in our cultures, where we come from, where it's not really seen as a medical issue, and it really is. And there's a lot of stigma around it. So I really support and encourage what you're doing. And if you need sort of partners, international partners, is something that we would love to work with you on as well, because I'm very passionate about mental health. We have a lot of young people, especially young men, who get affected by mental health, right? And don't really find their way out. So love to connect with you, Aditya, as well as on your engineering stuff as well. We can get techie together.
Yes. Oh, that is so sweet of you to say, Michelle. And I would love to. I think, there's this a quote which I absolutely love, which says that, alone you can do so much, and together you can go so far. And I completely agree. I think there's just so much potential in people coming together and kind of like learning from each other. I would absolutely be thrilled to kind of take this conversation forward post the event and see how we can bring in mental health and technology together. Yeah.
Actually, I share just to highlight the impact issue. I share Michelle and me, our photo in the first meeting. Actually, this is kind of butterfly effects, okay, and kind of impact, our impact role in our community, in our society, coming from the bottom to the top, coming from the national level to international level. Yeah. So who next? Let's hear from the gentleman. Hello. Hello.
Joseph, we want to hear from you.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Hi. Hi, Joseph. How are you?
Sorry, unfortunately, I can't do video, so you just have to excuse me. It's pitch dark here, actually. Got some power.
Your photo is fantastic. Don't worry. Go ahead.
Thank you thank you very much. So basically, I think globally, there's need for women empowerment. There's need for government to participate more in empowering the women folk with different programming, with different opportunities. Because I think more women, especially now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you. Carry on, Joseph.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. So basically, I think more women needs empowerment, because most women are more vulnerable to different social ills, especially in Africa, for instance, where there's so much inequality between the girl child and the male child, actually. So basically, we are of the opinion that there's need for synergy between government agencies and international agencies like the United Nations, for instance, like UNICEF, like even IMF programs, where they can interface with government programs to create policies, formulate policies that will be of immense benefit to women folks. I'll just use Africa as a case study. If you move around Africa, where there's so much economic deprivation, where there's so much lack of resources, or due to corruption, bad governance, and what have you, you'll notice that most of the disadvantaged people in each society is the women. So that's why there's need for women to be empowered through policies that will go a long way in ensuring that women get to the apex of their chosen career. For instance, women are given equal opportunities with men to achieve their potential. So basically, we cannot rule out government inputs apart from the private sector, apart from international agencies like that I mentioned earlier. So that is my view, basically.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you very much. Just one comment about the equality, the gender equality. Actually, sometimes we have to, or we should be fair. So some countries they give gender equality opportunity, okay, for everyone. But I think this is not related to, nothing to do with being a woman or being a man. It's to do more with the ability and capability of the person, whether it's a woman or men. So does anyone agree? Yeah, Fatumata, I don't hear you. Hello, you are mute.
You need to unmute there, yes. You're still muted.
You still muted? Do you hear me?
Yeah, give her some time. I think she's gonna. Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Sorry about that. So
No
thank you very much for the, what you said earlier, both of you, about the government agencies working hand to hand with the international agencies to actually give more power to women. What I like to say about that is a great idea. But for years and years and years, that's what it's been said. It's nice on paper, but in reality, in practice, it has not been working. So then I think that's where we should focus about why hasn't it been working and what can we do so it actually works. And that's why I have recommended that everybody in this group, if you have not heard of seen Poverty Inc., please take a look at it, watch it on Netflix. And then so by the next time we get together, hopefully we'll come with some recommendation about what we can do as a people, as the entrepreneurs, and also reaching out to other entrepreneurs like big corporations about changing the status of women in terms of entrepreneurship barriers and access. But what has been said, and for years and years, World Bank, IMF, the government, it has not been working. And that's where we are today, talking about barriers.
I have one question for Anditi.
Yes, Olive.
Coming from a developing country,
yeah,
how was it starting up the NGO grade? Because as I told you, I studied in India, and I know how hard it is for mental health and everything.
Yeah. No,
So how did you go about it?
I appreciate your question, and I also just want to kind of, before I answer that, I wanted to touch upon what Fatima said. I think I do agree with you, Fatima, that there has been a lot of work in the past, or like the things we have spoken about, but we don't really see a change. And I think, whether it is entrepreneurship or whatever it is, whether it is women in STEM, women in business, or we can kind of like say it for any industry, it does start at home. I think like a lot of reasons why we don't see a change that fast as much as we would like to is because I think like structurally there are just so many issues which we deal with as a society. Like you can create all the funds for women, and you can kind of like say, oh, there are like scholarships for women students, and funding for women entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, when like as a society there is no structure and there is no support system for girls and women to fall back on or to thrive, I think it is always difficult to see those initiatives doing the work of its full capacity or full potential, if that makes sense. Like I think like, whether it is your home, whether it is your office, whether you are an entrepreneur or not an entrepreneur, there always should be that space where women don't have to work harder to prove themselves, to kind of like be truly extraordinary, to be like, okay, she has something good to say. And I think as women and as girls, I think we often deal with that. I have experienced that back in my engineering school, and then ended up experiencing the same, in different business settings. But I think that is something like we really like lag behind, that we can, you know put the ownership on different organizations. But I think like how you say charity begins at home, like everybody needs to value and respect, whether it's girls or women or even men. I think everybody, I think any kind of like, whether it's patriarchy or whether it is toxic masculinity or whether it is any kind of discrimination, it affects and harms all genders equally. Of course, on the receiving hand, often and mostly since decades and centuries, women have been on the receiving end, because of, again, like different nuances and different circumstances which we kind of go through, being a part of I would say of the community, which is often highly vulnerable. Now coming to Olive's question, so Olive, I would say that I'm definitely grateful to be I would say to be born in a family where education was always important, where I had that access to education. I ended up studying engineering, and like today I'm doing my MBA, and I could study anything I wanted to, and I can continue this journey for as long as I want. And I know like a lot of girls and a lot of women from different parts of the world do not have that privilege, and they do not have that access. So I think firstly I'm very grateful to kind of get those resources where I could even educate, I would say, myself, where I could have these different dreams and I could pursue them. Starting a nonprofit back in India, I don't think it was difficult, whether like I don't think it would have been easier or difficult irrespective of the country I would have been a part of. I would say, of course, it's not easy. It wasn't easy because whenever you are doing these things, you are kind of leaving one thing to pursue the other thing. So of course I ended up leaving my job to start my nonprofit, and just like the journey since then has been hard, because it's not easy to be an entrepreneur any day, and especially in the nonprofit world, it could often mean that you're self-funding all your operations. There is a long enough of time when somebody would even want to give you a grant or give you give you donations or whatever. And usually the maximum support which we see nonprofits get, those are usually the nonprofits who have been like running for years, who actually have a big team or at least number of people. So when you're kind of like one man army or one woman army, it can for sure be difficult. I think I faced difficulties in those aspects, and at the same time, like being from technical background, being an engineer, and then kind of making the shift also sometimes can be a little challenging, because like, I think you prove, like I proved so hard to probably others, my classmates or whatever, that like I was smart enough to be an engineer, and then you kind of change your career path and you move on to different direction. And often, like a lot of questions which would come your way would be like, oh, somebody's just not smart enough to be something, like I don't know if that makes sense, but I would say like the challenges were more in these nuances and not really in the sense of, oh, starting my organization, because I think again, I do acknowledge the privilege of being able to do that, like just being a part of a family, or just the background where I was always able to learn different things, go and do these different degrees. I think that definitely helped me a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Ed. Just I would like thank you very much for adding the education factors and the NGO, actually charity. Actually, we should encourage for enterprise as much as we encourage charity work. You know what I mean? We shouldn't rely on just charity work. Charity should be evolve from enterprise work, not the opposite. So just I would like to ask Julia's technical question. How many minutes we have left?
Yeah, let me check over here.
Hmm?
So we have gone into the fourth segment, and we have until 40. So until 1940 GMT, that would mean around 14 minutes until we go into the next segment.
How many minutes? Sorry, I didn't get you.
We have 14 minutes left in this segment, which is entitled "What to Expect on Your Entrepreneurial Journey." So we set the segment up just for any new entrepreneurs out there, or even prospective entrepreneurs out there. And so we just love for anybody in the room who has been an entrepreneur before or is one now, if you have just one or two very short tips or ahas, or something that surprised you, or just something you wish somebody would have told you at the beginning of your journey, we would love to hear from you. So any of our speakers from tonight, feel free to open up your mic and share your aha moment, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to kind of start off and like learn from everybody else in the room, but I'm sure I have like so many things to say about what to expect and what not to expect. But one thing I can definitely say is like, which is true for our individual journeys, and also being an entrepreneur, that I mean, people's journeys are not same. So when you're trying to kind of like map that out, or when you try to match that, it can often lead to you feeling extremely disappointed. Why people become entrepreneurs are also that's like again a very different and personal reason. People become entrepreneurs and pursue their causes due to different inspirations and different motivations. So one thing which truly helps sometimes is to kind of get back, ground yourself and get back to that reality that, okay, my journey could look very different from another person. And I think the other thing is like, it's such a learning and unlearning process. While you are at it, you learn a lot of things, and at the same time you have to continuously unlearn the things you have learned maybe as a child or whatever. So that's been my aha moments, to not compare my journey with another people. And I would say the other is simply to kind of like continuously being like a student for life, that you have to forever like learn through your own journey, through others. Yeah, I think those are my two big takeaways.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just I would like to announce because I think my battery is running out. I would like to share with you and announce under the same title. Maybe it will not be African, maybe it will be modified, but under the same women entrepreneur. We will have a big conference. We will in Morocco on the summer. So anyone interested to join us either in the organization committee or so we can work as a team based on this segment, we can expand it to big conference in North Africa and Morocco. So you are welcome. I will share with you the updates, everything in the Impactful Women MENA and Africa page. This is just one announcement I would like to share. Yeah. So yeah, sorry if someone want to speak. Mhm.
I was just going to come in as well because I'll soon be leaving to go and sort out my son's dinner. He's looking at me funny. So,
Yeah.
so
Thank you, Michelle.
yes, I'll
Thank you.
just give my closing remark. I think just to support Dr. Huda there. Yes, on the conference, we are also supporting for the big conference in Morocco. And it'd be amazing to have everybody there and to meet everybody in person. In terms of the entrepreneurship journey, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I've kind of always been a serial. Even when I was working in positions, I had that tingling feeling that I actually should be doing my own thing, but I was not as confident when I was younger. You know, I was not as ready to jump. You know, so one of my tips for entrepreneurs or upcoming entrepreneurs is actually don't be afraid to take that leap, you know, because sometimes you think, oh no, I'm not quite ready. And especially as women, we tend to have that feeling that sometimes we're not ready, we're not going to jump, we're not going to go ahead. So I'd encourage you, you know, when you have that desire to be an entrepreneur, to really go for it, because for me, the journey has been absolutely amazing. And it's something that I really have fallen in love with. I think, you know, I can think of so many business ideas. So I'm a proper serial entrepreneur and I love it. It's very hard work. I have to say to all entrepreneurs upcoming, it's really hard work, but the hard work is so rewarding. Right. And you never really get that anywhere else. So for me, I think the aha moment is actually, wow, I wish I had started much sooner, because I had that feeling way back. But at the same time as well, maybe I shouldn't have started sooner, because I got all the experience that I got from working in the field as well in other organizations that has helped me with my business. And so I would encourage others to also believe in your vision. You know, I said it earlier on, you know, when you have a particular vision and you can see things sometimes that other people don't see yet, it's important you maintain that and you push your vision. And if you push your vision, other people will eventually kind of, you know, get to understand what it is that you're pushing. But it's also, you know, advisable that you don't expect everybody to know everything about what you're doing, because as entrepreneurs, we're very passionate about our stuff, but not everybody gets our stuff. So we shouldn't expect them to get it, but we should bring people along the way. And then, of course, very early on, please align yourself with people with similar vision, similar ambitions, because that's going to help you a lot. You know, network. I network like crazy, and I have so many like connections from around the world that help me to do so many things. So networking is my secret ingredient to actually getting a lot of stuff done across the world. And on that note, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you for all the wonderful discussions. It's nice to meet everybody, and hopefully we'll connect again very soon.
Thank you, Michelle, for such inspiring, motivational speech. Yes, for the vision. Yes, for the mission as well. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Thank you for joining us. Actually, I don't, Trent, are you with us, Nancy?
Yes, we have 6 more minutes on this topic, and then we are going to be having a networking session. But I also see that Colleen has joined us, and she would like to speak on that particular topic of networking. I know it's been a theme throughout the evening. But let's see here. I think Fatoumata has not had a chance yet to speak.
Fatoumata, was has been contributed. Yeah. Colleen, hi, Colleen.
I will share very quickly. My aha moment is what Dr. Huda said earlier, that the impact should be an upstream.
I'm sorry, I think we lost you there. You're muted again.
Yeah. So sorry, caller, and I just declined it. So my aha moment is, if I had known, I would have started with a for-profit, and then that for-profit, I would have a charity division of that profit to have a social impact. So that's my aha moment. But I started with a nonprofit and figured out that I definitely need to make a profit in order to support the nonprofit. Moving forward, about what I can give as an advice, a lot of it has been already said. The entrepreneurship can be very lonely. Definitely surrounding ourselves with resources is very helpful. It's very helpful. So I definitely believe in having a lot of resources around us.
All right. And I'll just throw in on that note to that part of our mission with Spirit of the Game is to help nonprofits think more like for-profits and create diversified revenue streams so that they can get out of what we call beggar mode of always having to ask for money or donations, so that they actually have services that they can offer to their community as a way to also generate revenue for their nonprofit work. Okay. So, let's see. All right, we are, like I said, we're going to wrap up tonight's event with just some general networking. We'll probably create a couple of breakout rooms, but before we do that, we want to welcome Colleen Biggs from Arizona. She had, I will let her tell you about the amazing network that she has been building over the last several years. But yeah, I also wanted to just hear her aha moment on, since she became an entrepreneur and what she wishes somebody would have told her at the beginning of her stage. And then we'll also let her speak for a few minutes on the topic of networking before we go into those breakout rooms. Welcome, Colleen.
Hey, Trent. Hi, everyone. I am actually in America and I am in Arizona. So I know my time zone is probably different from many of your time zones today. And I've actually been on another all-day summit and popped over here to be able to jump in and meet many of you as we're running some pre-summits. As everyone knows, tomorrow is International Women's Day and we're celebrating women in history all month long. It's one of my favorite months. And I certainly don't need to speak on networking. Again, always confused about how things are running. And now that I know that we're going to be networking, I'm really excited to meet some of you. So an aha moment for me about becoming an entrepreneur, I think the number one thing that so many of us don't realize is that we can do it on our own. So many of us are looking to partner with someone to create an event or partner with someone to build a business. And I had made that mistake in the very beginning when I built my first community, and I partnered with an individual because I didn't really 100% believe I could build it. I thought I needed this other person. Now, I'm not saying don't leverage partnerships and affiliates and JV partnerships. Those are amazing. What I'm saying is, as an entrepreneur, you have what it takes. And you're the one that knows your product or your service, right? You're your own expert. And sometimes individuals, when you partner with them, it gets a little muddy. I've seen a lot of partnered businesses that I've launched over so many years become very muddied because the vision and the goal didn't align. So if you are going to partner with someone, make sure your vision and your goals align. It's really no different than finding a partner for life. If you want me to be honest, it's no different than finding your life partner and who you're going to settle down with, you need to make sure your vision is aligned on where you want your life to go and what you want it to look like. And I wish I would have gotten so much of that advice in the very beginning, because I chased a lot of shiny things that I thought were going to be the answer. Nancy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And we think that this one thing is going to solve the big problem for me, and it's going to be what creates the success for me. When it comes down to it, you're the one. You're the magic pill. You are the silver bullet. You are the one that creates the success. So once I realized that, I went on to create a network for women, and I did it specifically selfishly because I needed to be surrounded by women that were strong, like Dr. Cheryl Okoli. We've met before. I needed women like Nancy and so many of you on here that were strong in your beliefs of knowing that you were going to create financial freedom for yourself, that you were going to build a business you could be proud of, that you were proud of yourself. And I wanted to work with women that wanted to support each other and open up opportunities for each other and not be afraid to be collaborative, even though we might do similar things. And so that was something very attractive to me about creating this movement, I guess you could say. And then, thousands of women decided they wanted that support too. And that's how the community grew. And we continue to grow because women realize that if you're going to go out and be an entrepreneur, you might as well support yourself with a tribe. And the women that are there doing what you're doing, it's no different of why we have AA meetings or, meetings for people that are been divorced. It's a support for similarities. We want to find people that are like us, that are doing things like us, that understand our challenges that we're going through. And that's what I love about surrounding myself with a tribe. And it's networking and how your social capital of your network is that really determines how successful you'll be. That's to me what networking is. It's your social capital. So when you call on individuals because you're fundraising, or you call on individuals because you have a movement you're working on, or you would love people to participate in something that you're doing, and you call on them, what does your social capital look like? Do you have people that are there to support you? Are those individuals understanding your vision? Do they support that vision? So I think when we look at networking as social capital and we realize how important that can be to how our success is aligned, that's something to be considered. Because when you reach out because you're looking for help and you've just been focused on building, you have no social capital and no tribe, and you reach out because you need help, it's going to be crickets. There's no one there. And you need to ask yourself, have I just been so focused in doing my own thing that I didn't bring anyone else along the journey with me? And I think social capital is something to be considered when we think about networking, Trent, for sure.
All right. Well, on that note, let's create some breakout rooms and create some social capital. Let's get to know each other a little bit better in an informal setting. And I want to just plant a seed. If your group decides you don't want to discuss this particular topic, by all means, pick your own topic. But the seed I'll plant for the first breakout session, and we'll probably just go for about 15 minutes. Bring everybody back, see if there's any aha moments we want to share, and then have a second one of about that same length, and then we'll wrap up about 30 minutes from now. Yeah, the seed, the conversational seed I would like to plant is this concept of luck. That in my experience, most successful entrepreneurs had at least one lucky break, some connection that you could not have planned. What I'd like to say or discuss is, does anybody have tips on how you can make your own luck? Obviously, networking is one of those. Going out, you meet enough people, eventually one of them is going to be your lucky break. But are there any other tips that anybody has to share with anybody else, or just anything along those lines? So I will go ahead and create the breakout rooms, and we will just try the first time with just two breakout rooms, and I'm just going to assign automatically and let you all jump in there and yeah, discuss this or just get to know each other. It's entirely up to you. All right, enjoy. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We already chose our speaker for our segment to just kind of give you a quick recap of what we talked about. So hopefully the other group will be thinking about who's going to tell us what you talked about. Cheryl, go ahead.
Okay, greetings everybody. So I had a very engaging group members and it was lovely to meet them. And some very interesting points were raised. Number one, business. Some people have the notion, okay, why are you going to business? Is it to make money or not to make money? Someone commented that, they are in business to make money. But then the counterback was, okay, there's nothing wrong with making money, but make sure you stay true to your strategic direction. And by that, I mean the mission, vision, and values and goals. That's crucial. And if you're distracted about your mission, no matter what partners or people who want to partner with you, that can sway you from why you began your business. So we need to be very cautious about the balance as to why you want to make money, what you want to do with the money. And in terms of networking and luck, we were like, sometimes it could be luck in landing a big deal, or sometimes it's not luck. Sometimes what will be, but we all acknowledge it's important to be good stewards and accountable in the little, because that would help us in the long run. I think that's it in a nutshell.
All right, Nancy, do you have somebody you want to throw under the bus from your group?
Oh, that is so nice of you to say that. And that will be Colleen Biggs. She gave some awesome tips.
I'm a newbie. Come on.
That's why we throw you on the bus. What do you think they did with me?
Exactly.
Our veterans know better. They get out of the way. Normally, I'm throwing Nancy under the bus, so I did her a favor by letting her choose her sacrificial victim. So, Colleen, what? Give us a 2-minute recap of your 15-minute conversation.
I mean, my goodness, I felt like everyone had so much advice to offer in that room. And, where is Fatu? Why doesn't she share? I would love for her to share. We spoke a lot about customers, and we spoke a lot about giving gratitude to others, but recognizing and noticing your customers. And you talked about listening, right, Fatu? What were the other things that you talked about?
I said 3 things. Number 1, be observant. Observe, watch what your customer, be able to, acknowledge the customer, watch what the customer is saying or doing. Be open-minded. And the third one was listen to what they're saying. So listen, watch, and be open-minded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where the magic happens. So I had done a study back in corporate America that I told them about and talked to hundreds of women in corporate America. And the number one thing that they were frustrated about was that they didn't want more. They weren't looking for more money, more time off, more, team building events, more gifts, any of that. They just wanted someone to say thank you. It really just came down to gratitude. And so think of how we could be more grateful and show gratitude toward our customers, and how that could really change our relationship with them, because customers become loyal, when they know that they're being treated good. So that's where the magic happens.
Well, on that note, I want to say thank you to all of the Spirit of the Game team for all of their amazing work pulling together all of this week's events. I myself was traveling in the U.S. for the last 3 weeks, so I kind of dumped some of the stuff on their plate, and definitely got some feedback that I have not been saying thank you enough or showing appreciation. So we have the amazing Nancy Chin Wagner from the U.S. and amazing Olive from Kenya, as well as Pauline, who was here earlier. We've got Julia from UK, soon to be France, that's doing amazing work pulling together all of our disjointed systems, and she just can't handle the chaos anymore. And she said, I either have to leave or fix this. And we said, well, please don't leave. So we've signed ourselves up for making her our task mistress and getting us on track and getting our structures going. And then, of course, thanks to Julius for all of his technical support and setting up all of the details here. So yeah, just as long as we're talking about gratitude, let's be grateful for our customers, but also for our team members and our support network. It's something I'm always reminding my 5-year-old son about, that when he gets a gift from somebody, and like people like to give him gifts, that he needs to say thank you, even if he's never going to see that person again. So he doesn't say thank you so that he gets another gift. He just says thank you so that he learns to appreciate and not to take any of those gifts for granted, such as the ones that Nancy gave him while we were visited her in Las Vegas recently. So anyway, just wanted to share a little bit on that note. Yeah, let's go ahead and do one more breakout session. Let's just keep this one for 10 minutes because I know people are probably going to have to take off after that. But then we will leave this main room open for all of you to continue the conversations, exchange details, or whatever the case may be. And if you really enjoyed meeting somebody today and you do have to take off or they have to take off, reminder that at the same time, tomorrow evening, we will be in the middle of our after party, and it's specifically set up for that so that you can come connect with somebody there and have your own breakout room so you can have that really one-on-one chat to get to know each other and see how you can collaborate. But I'll go ahead and quickly set up another breakout room. I'm going to leave the topic open to each group, and we will try the automatic assignment, and hopefully the groups get mixed up a little bit. In Zoom we trust. Let's give it a try.